During the World Snooker Championships, Ronnie O'Sullivan revealed that he wasn't that impressed with the next generation of young professional players.
If you look at the younger players coming through, they're not that good really, do you know what I mean? And most of them are like, you know, wouldn't even make, they'd probably do well as half decent amateurs, do you know what I'm saying?
Is he right? Well, maybe, but to work that out, we're going to need to know what's the difference. What exactly is it that makes one snooker player better at the game than another? And what's the difference between some of the best players to have ever played the game and the people Ronnie O'Sullivan just considers amateurs? A game of snooker involves two players playing on the same table but never playing identical shots, not even playing shots that are close to being the same. So it's difficult to compare the players, and you wouldn't think you'd be able to see the difference with just this one shot.
Well, in a way, this is exactly what the difference is. Potting the pink here to get on the black.
You can do this in a way that's simple or not so simple, but how exactly does making this shot unnecessarily complicated make you a better player? Well, just watch all the different ways I'm getting the cue ball on the black here, because it'll all make sense in a minute. But for now, it's all about how many increasingly complicated shots I can play.
From here, that's every single shot I can play to get position on the black whilst potting the pink in that pocket. But there's going to be more.
If I had slightly better cue power, I could screw the cue ball off two cushions and get fully out for the black, and I could screw the cue ball around three cushions with side, but I don't quite have the cue power to do that. I also don't have anywhere near the power available to blast the cue ball all the way around the table.
And there's bound to be more shots that I just haven't thought of, but why does any of this actually matter?
Well, it's about the position you find yourself in after your opponent's visit has come to an end.
Quite often, the position you end up in is completely beyond your control, and you can lose entire games simply because where you end up is a little bit awkward. But if it's having to play awkward pots that's the problem, why does it matter how many different ways you can get into position? Well, here's why. I'm pretty much in the same position as before, except I'm on a red this time that's roughly on the pink spot, trying to just stun down for the black. But what if there's a problem?
Because more often than not, you'll run out of position on your first ball, and this is usually because of an unusual situation or something being in the way.
Like here, for example, there's a red now that could get in the way of our position on the black. So instead of just stunning it across the table, I'm just going to run it on and off the top cushion, and that should mean we definitely don't snooker ourselves behind the red. But what if the red's now there, stopping us potting the black into that pocket? Well, we're going to have to go across to the other side of the table, and probably the easiest way of doing that is to just screw off the side cushion here. So we've done that, and we're on the black. And this time the red's in the same place, but there's two reds in the way, stopping us screwing across the table. So the only way to get on the black is like this. That's the only way we really could have got on the black like that. Or possibly, if these two reds are here, we're not even going to be able to do that. The only option we have left is to spin the cue ball round the back of the black with side. Like that, we're just about on it. Now there, the more ways I could play from pink to black, the more ways I was going to be able to get in position when the options were completely taken away from me.
And this is what it really comes down to. What makes one snooker player better than the other? The amount of shots they can play from the same position. The greater amount of shots you can play, the more breaks you'll be able to start, and the more breaks you'll be able to continue, because you're going to be able to cope with a far greater amount of problems.
Oh, great shot.
But this isn't about understanding how to play a lot of different shots.
Now you would have thought what sets the best players apart would be something along the lines of their cue action, rather than the amount of different ways they can play a given shot. But we're not talking about understanding how to play the shots or shots you wish you could play. This is about being able to play these shots on a fairly regular basis. more often than not in a game, you end up in a position where it's very difficult to keep a break going. And you have to combine your cue action, your ability to pop the balls, and your understanding of the game to give yourself more options. The more options you have, the more likely it is you're going to be able to get nicely in position. So what's the best way to learn new shots and dramatically improve the way you play the game? Well, luckily, I've come up with a challenge.
But first, my challenge is to find Victor, who's in Tokyo, Japan.
So this is the challenge that can make you a far better player than you realise. Take any basic shot and see how many different ways you can get in position.
You can do this with a red to any colour or any colour to a red. You can even do this with any colour to any colour. But for now I'm doing it with the same shot on this blue to try and get position on this red. That is at least until the shot doesn't quite go right.
So here's a shot I'm struggling to play. So I'm going to try it a few times until I start getting it right.
This is important because it's a shot I can definitely play, but it is a shot I'm getting wrong more often than I'd like to. So in practicing it like this, I know in the future it's going to become a shot that I can play most of the time.
Just remember not to spend too long on one particular shot, otherwise it might get boring. Just keep changing it up.
Obviously you can place the reds and even the colours anywhere you choose, but I find these positions for the reds the most helpful when it comes to learning a new shot. You can pick them at random or just choose something you like the look of.
For example, I think there's going to be a number of interesting ways I can get on that red from the pink here.
But while I'm trying to discover how many different ways I can play that shot, let's find Eli in Chicago in the United States of America.
Remember, it's not really about discovering new shots you'd love to be able to play. It's far more crucial to learn to play new shots consistently. And that's really the big difference between players. But I guess the unanswered question is, if this is the big difference, was Ronnie right to point out that players don't seem to be as good as they used to be?
Well, it's possible he could be right. Certainly in the UK there's less snooker clubs and less opportunities to play in competitions for younger players. But it's more likely to be changes to professional tournaments several years ago now that see top players like Ronnie begin in round one, meaning Ronnie has to begin campaigns against lesser opposition than he used to. Or it could just be Ronnie trying to make an interview go viral, which has definitely worked because idiots like us on this channel are talking about it. But if you want to improve your game, even if it is just so Ronnie stops criticising it, then have a look at these two videos. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.